Before we get started, if you haven't watched the first video in this series, Defining the Product Adoption Lie, I suggest you watch that video first, and we have it linked up here. It's easy to tell yourself, we just need more time. We just need better execution. But not fixing the product adoption lie before launch comes with a very real price tag, and you pay for it in cash, credibility, and time. So let's start with the obvious, money. When you scale spending before belief is built, here's what actually happens. You pour go-to-market dollars into prospects who aren't committed to buying. Your activity might spike, campaigns, calls, events, but adoption doesn't. And then to hit short-term numbers, teams start discounting, making your top-line goals harder to reach. You're not just wasting budget, you're teaching the market that your breakthrough belongs in the nice-to-have bucket, not the must-have bucket. There's also the human side. When launches are built on internal conviction without external readiness, your teams can't win, and they won't stay. Sales is asked to push harder into a market that hasn't changed the way it thinks or acts. Marketing is asked to explain the product better without the market having changed what it values. And then you've got product and market access that are pulled into endless fix the launch meetings. High-performing people get trapped in rework and reaction. The story stops being, we're building something important, and starts being blame game. Blame the reps, blame the market, blame the timing. The legacy playbook doesn't produce results, it produces excuses. And then there's reputation. When belief isn't built first, revenue misses start stacking. Guidance gets revised. The narrative in the boardroom shifts from bold innovation to execution concern. Even if the product is strong, investors and boards begin to question your forecast discipline, your understanding of the market, and eventually your leadership judgment. You can't out-execute a market that hasn't changed its mind. Every dollar spent before belief is wired is launch insurance left unpaid. In healthcare, you don't just launch a product. You're launching into a market that's almost impossible to move. By the time you go live, your team has lived for the product for years. The problem feels obvious, the urgency feels real. You assume the market will connect the dots, but they can't. They've accepted the limitations of their world. They've built workarounds. They've learned to tolerate the trade-offs. And if the belief hasn't been built ahead of time around the consequences of the problem and why the old way is no longer acceptable, your launch doesn't create demand. It exposes indifference. And that's when you experience the product adoption lie, the belief that adoption is automatic once you launch. Guess what? It isn't. Adoption follows belief, and the belief has to be designed before you scale. That's why so many innovative products launch and then spend the next few years trying to fix adoption with more tactics, more messaging, and more discounting. But by then, the damage is done. The market decided what matters before you came along, and you're just reacting to decision criteria you didn't define and standards and expectations you didn't set. So the real risk of not fixing the product adoption lie, it's not a slow start. It's burned launch budget, it's forced discounting, it's internal launch fatigue, and eroding board and investor confidence, all for a product that might actually deserve to win. So fixing belief isn't a nice to have, it's commercial due diligence.